In this episode, we're going to look at human productivity, and in my view of the four classes, this one's the most important. Like, if you've got an economy, what else is an economy for, if not for something for humans to get out of? So, I'm going to start off with, by considering a couple of things. A prize bull, a prize flower, a prize pumpkin, like the big pumpkins they have in the show. These are all things like they have at the shows, agricultural shows and stuff like that, and where people put them in and you see the photo of the guy with a giant pumpkin, wins the prize, blue ribbon. Training dogs for movies, and Usain Bolt, that's the world famous sprinter. So what have all these got in common with human productivity? Well, in all these, a person has, or a thing has to achieve a high performance. So we should kind of keep in mind the factors that drive those performances, and because what we want is good performance in human productivity. So what would be the factors that were common to all these things or important in those things, and how might they help us? Now, I'm not going to go and answer them one specifically, but I just thought I'd put that in there just to kind of prompt us a bit. The first thing I'll talk about in my human productivity section is the importance of the weighted effect of things on people. So if let's say we've got a group of 6 people, we'll have 3 lots of 2 in our 6 people, and let's say I'm going to give them performances, and so this one's going to have a performance of 5, and that's the top performance, and this one's going to have 4, and that's on a range of 0 to 5, and this one here is going to have 0, and where 3 would be average. So we're going to consider another group as well, another group of 6 people made of 3 lots of 2. This one's going to have a 4 and a 3, and this one's also going to have 3. So if we just quickly do the bit of a multiplication on that, that's 10 plus 8, that's 0. This one ends up with 18. So, and this one here, this is just an average performance. So that's straightforward to achieve that. Straightforward. Or nothing special. And yet, these are going to end up 6, 12, and plus 8 is 20. So when it comes to a human productivity thing, it's distributed and there's a weighted distribution. In this one here, it's hard to get the above average performance. So this is hard to do. And yet this is people that are being wasted here. It's far easier to achieve something like this. Like these ones here, these guys are just going through the motions. Those ones, they're doing nothing special. And so in this group, they had the resources to help these guys, spend this time on getting these guys up to 4. And in fact, they probably would have been 5, or maybe even, well, can't go higher than 5 in this one. But it would have been easier for the society to get that result. And they're already ahead. They're already a couple ahead, even on 4. So, and why have wasted people? It's just not sensible. So when it comes to human productivity, we've got to consider the effect of things across the whole population, and availability of productivity helping things to the whole population is very helpful. Now I've just got to erase this off a bit because I need a bit more space for my next part. So the next sort of thing I want to use is a bit of an analogy I use as an engineer to help me understand human productivity. And so first off, we're just going to think about a factory and what things affect the performance of factories. And so if we have a factory and we go from switching it off to switching it on, it'll have a jump up in performance. So it's switched on and now a bit of time's going by and it's performing at a level. And then most factories have a normal speed, but they also have the ability to be turned up and have a top speed. So from here to here, we've gone faster. So this section here was all about going from off to on. And then this section here is kind of how fast, we'll just call it fastness for want of a better word, fastness, hopefully you can read that. And then last of all, in factories, they often have a tiny little bit extra capacity or performance they can get just by improving the quality of things that are being produced, or the attention being paid to the process. So there's a little tiny boost up you can get that I just got in there, and we'll just label this section the quality section. And me as an engineer, I like cruise about, and in fact, most factories are meant to run 24/7. So you expect this performance to keep going on and on and on. And where I get in trouble with my bosses is like we don't normally have the factory turned off; they stay on 24/7. So it's when it's been going well, and then it goes bad. And you can see like the amount of trouble I get in is kind of the reverse. If we have like a quality drop off, well, I don't get in too much trouble. If we have a speed drop off, I get in a medium amount of trouble. And if the damn thing breaks right down and stops, I get in the most amount of trouble. Now we can kind of use that concept of the off and on, the fastest and the quality to look at with humans. In fact, I'll do it here underneath. So on the human one, if we look from going like off to on, this is going to seem strange, but if you have a person being dead to a person being alive, then you have and even if they're not doing anything special, they'll put out an amount of performance. Then the next sort of thing, like the thing that corresponds to fastness, is like having a fit person or a motivated person and watching what performance they can do. So in here we'll just put fit, motivated, and you get a person going from like their ho-hum speed to like a decent output. And last of all, just by knowing some like science is a good example, some science tricks that you can, like in my old workplace, we used to, I was in a, like one of the last ones was a laboratory, and I was doing testing of chemicals and stuff like that, and we used to realise simple little ways that we could change our procedure, and we knew scientific methods, so we'd like do the change that we thought might improve things, and then sort of track how much time things would take, and then compare that to the original and try and keep as many things equal as we could, and seeing if the new one was better, and if it was, we adopted it, and if it wasn't, well, we stayed with the old one. But if you understand the scientific principles, then you can kind of boost up your quality a bit more and get a tiny bit extra performance there. So that's like a understanding of science, or attention to detail is another one that will get you there. Attention to detail. And when I was first doing this, I realised that humans actually have two states that are actually worse than being dead. So our graph actually goes like this. Hard to believe, yes, but there are states that are worse than being dead. Not for your health or whatever, or for your individual well-being, but just for the performance of the economy. So a dead person doesn't consume any resources. So although you're not getting any work out of them, you're also not getting to do any consumption. We have a situation where we have unemployment, where you have a living person that still needs to eat and have shelter and clothing and that sort of stuff. So they're using up resources, but we're not getting any like work return from them. And then you've got the case as well where you can have people which are very sick, and they're using up a lot of resources now. They're probably not eating as much food because they've lost their appetite, but you're having like doctors being used for them, you've got medical equipment, you've got this, that and the other, all caring for them, and yet you get no work out of them. So then the question becomes, well, so what are the things important to getting human productivity out? Well, obviously a health system is going to help all through here. That's very important to getting human productivity up. Keeping people alive and stopping them from being sick is a way to boost up their performance all the way up to there. Another thing is like laws as well, like road laws, for instance. If you have good road laws or drink driving laws, then they're going to protect people from having road accidents and from their lives being lost and all the skills that they would have built up over their time being lost to our society. In this area here, like obviously like having a society where you got freedom to go and participate in sports, and having a non-corrupt society helps keep people motivated to do work and stuff like that. You contribute if you think you can get something out of it. So whereas there's no point contributing if your good work's just gonna get stolen by someone. So that's democracy is an important part there. And like I already kind of mentioned it here, science is important to getting this little bit, and even just an understanding of like how important productivity is in an economy. And over here, obviously, well, you haven't heard about this much, but if we have a job guarantee, this is why a job guarantee is so important. The current economic setup, I'm not going to go into it much in this episode, can't ensure employment for everyone. So this system can though. So that would help all those people there. They would jump up through, like, you know, remember I talked about the weight of the population. Well, you won't have like 4% of your population consuming and not being able to contribute. These will stop. Like they'll be up here now. So you have a whole big massive block of people up here now contributing, and your society gets more out because of it. And similar again, here's your health system back in the action again. So you can see the importance in this one of having a good health system. Stops people, like, especially prevention is better than cure. So like you have to have health education programs about smoking, about alcohol, about eating and that sort of stuff. You can save a lot of this sort of things. Like the person never gets really sick because they've never got themselves into that situation. So, and I don't just want to think this is an all work no play kind of view as well. Like an important part about this, like being motivated, is to be able to have some leisure time as well. So human productivity isn't the most straightforward thing. I'm going to talk about it a bit more on the next episode as well. So we'll talk about some of the. This is the obvious, plain, mechanistic stuff of how you get people to perform better, but there's also some other stuff that's a bit harder to explain. So I'm going to group all that in together and put that in the next episode.